11. Today we're going to look at one of Unit 2's writing section, narrative writing. So I'm just going to explain what narrative writing is, and then in the other PowerPoint I will show you narrative tips. So let's start. So examples of narration. So basically, it's like you're telling a story. So this can be a short story, novel, biography, fairy tales, fantasy, detective stories. They are all examples of narration. So what is the purpose? The purpose of a narrative text is to tell a story, provide details in the sequence in the events occur. So you have to put the events in order. There has to be a complication to increase the interest of the reader. So you put the climax, the interesting part, and that the story must have a definite ending. So a good narrative involves readers in the story, tells events in sequence, in order, includes detailed observations of people, places, and events. You put a lot of descriptions, presents important changes, contrast, or conflicts, and creates tension, focuses on connection between past events, people, or places, and the present. The text of a narrative is organized into an orientation, the introduction that tells us about the who, where, and when of the story. This is also known as the setting. A sequence of events in the main body that leads to a complication where some problem confronting the characters arises. A resolution, conclusion, where the crisis caused by the complication is solved. In short stories, this is often at the very end of the story. So some of the tips that you can use: always decide on your plot before you start writing. So make a plan which events are you going to put in your writing. Sequence of events is very important. You have to use transition words like first, before, until, while, during, then, after, finally, etc. Use various adjectives: terrified, disgusting, and adverbs, how the action is done, desperately, surprisingly, to describe feelings and actions. Use linking words or phrases to join the ideas and make your story flow. Don't write the sentences one after another after full stop. Use direct speech. Variety of verbs will make your story more fascinating to read. Be careful with the tenses you choose, past tense, present tense, depending on the time of the story. Descriptions of people, places, objects, or events and descriptive techniques can be used in a narrative when you want to emphasize specific parts of your narration. How do you begin a story? A good beginning is as important as a good ending. A good beginning should make your reader want to go on with your story. A good ending will make your reader feel satisfied. You can start your story by describing weather, surroundings, people. Use direct speech. You create a mystery, so the reader wants to know more. Example, so this is the ordinary beginning. I woke up and got out of bed. I had a shower, ate breakfast, and left. More interesting beginning can be: bright morning sunlight was shining through my bedroom window. When I woke up, I lay there lazily for a few minutes, then jumped out of bed. So you see how one is boring, the other is more interesting. So you have to put sensory details, which means use 5 senses so that the reader can feel what you are feeling as well. Techniques to end the story. You can end your story by referring to your feelings or moods, describing people's reactions to the events developed in the main body. You create a mystery, asking a rhetorical question. So example, simple ending: at last I was home again and soon went to bed. It had been a tiring day. Or make it more interesting: exhausted and soaked to the skin, So basically it was raining and it soaked to the skin. I slammed the front door behind me. He was angry. I threw myself onto my bed, stared into the darkness, and thought bitterly, why me? Rhetorical question, why me? You can use these expressions and phrases in your writing. So have a look at this, make a note of that, and then you can use it in your writing. So the next section, I will give you some tips. I will share my screen. So here, narrative writing tips. What can we do to make our story writing more exciting to read? So you can use these tips in your writing to help. Having too many characters can be a disadvantage, as it may be difficult for your reader to distinguish between them. So do not choose too many characters in your writing. Try to stick to 2 or 3 characters and really concentrate on letting your reader know what they are like by describing their appearance and revealing their personality. So put some description, physical appearance, and their character traits. And the writing tip 2, when describing your character's appearance, try using a sentence of 3. So what is this? For example, Mrs. Maples was wearing a shiny overcoat, black Wellingtons, and a peacoat. So 3 things you put like similar things one after another. Or Buster McWay had slick black hair, brooding eyes, and hands like shovels. Writing tip 3, describe your character's personality. Using an ing clause to add on to a simple sentence to describe what someone is doing or thinking. This is called a supporting action. Look at these, which tells you more. Tom ate his breakfast. This is a simple sentence. Or Tom ate his breakfast wondering where he should start searching. So wondering is the action that he's doing on his own. He's thinking, wondering, curious. You can use this ing clause to add a description to your sentence. Mr. Potts began to study the map, or Mr. Potts began to study the map, noticing that there was a forest in Bigham. Writing tip 4, remember the beginning where you introduce the characters, set the scene, and set up the problem. In the middle in which the hero has to deal with the problem. At the end, where the characters sort out the problem or not, and the story finishes. Writing tip 5, use a good story starter to grip your reader's attention. You could start with action. Use speech to introduce a character. Describe the setting. And another tip, ending your story is a very important part of the process. No one gets it right first time around. Make sure you read it through carefully and check, will your story make sense to your reader and will it interest them? Are your characters believable? Have you given a satisfactory ending? Are your spellings correct? Make sure you have used a range of punctuation marks. Long paragraphs can be off-putting. Start a new paragraph for a change of time if you're changing the time early the next morning, a change of place on the other side of the mountain stood, or change of action at that moment the lights went out, or change of character. So another tip, don't forget to give your story a catchy title. This is easier to do at the end because a good title might come to you as you are writing. So don't put the title at the beginning, finish everything and decide on your title at the end. Okay, so this is the end of the writing lesson. before you start writing your narrative essays, you can study these slides again and then write a perfect narrative essay. I'll see you in another video session. See you. Bye-bye.